On June, for a brief moment, the sky over Siberia split open, unleashing an explosion that flattened trees over 800 square miles, an area roughly the size of Greater London. Rocks were thrown 30 miles into the air, and a bright orange fireball dominated the sky for weeks. But despite the incredible destruction, no crater was ever found. What caused that Tunguska event? Was it a meteor, a weapon, or something more sinister? It all began in the early hours of June when two woodcutters were working near the Tunguska River, approximately 60 miles north of the Arctic Circle. Suddenly, the sky split open and they were met with a blinding flash of light. Stunned and disoriented, they looked up to see a huge orange ball dominating the sky. Then everything went black. When the woodcutters regained their sight, they were surrounded by an eerie silence. Moments before, the air had been filled with the sound of birds. Now, not a single bird song could be heard. As the stunned men made their way back to the settlement of Vanavera, they noticed something strange. As they walked through the forest, the trees seemed to be strangely flattened, almost as if they'd been mowed down by a giant pair of scissors. By the time the men reached the settlement, they were met with a horrifying sight. Thousands of square miles of forest had been leveled, creating a path of destruction 5 miles wide and 800 square miles long. All around them, they saw rocks that had been thrown into the air during the explosion. Some were still hot to the touch. The men quickly realized that something very strange had happened here. They had stumbled upon the largest explosion in recorded history, but there was no crater. News of the devastation quickly spread, and scientists from all over the world descended upon the area to try and find an answer. One team of Russian scientists, led by geologist Leonid Kulik, searched for a meteorite crater. They eventually found a large depression in the ground, but it was filled with water. Realizing that they had found a lake in the impact crater, the scientists immediately began drilling to extract samples. But when they analyzed the rocks and sediments they extracted, they found nothing unusual. It was as if the lake had been there all along. As the years passed, many theories were proposed. Some believed the explosion was caused by a meteor that had vaporized on impact with the atmosphere. Others claimed it was a comet, while others believed it was a collapsing cloud of gas. However, none of these theories could explain why there was no crater. In the 1930s, Soviet scientists came up with a new theory. They claimed that the Tunguska event was caused by a meteor that exploded above the surface of the Earth. However, this theory didn't explain why there was no crater. In the 1960s, a new theory emerged. Scientists now believed that the Tunguska event was caused by a collision between a meteor and an iceberg. However, this theory did not take into account the fact that there were no icebergs anywhere near the area at the time of the explosion. Then, in the 1990s, scientists came up with another new theory. They believed that the Tunguska event was caused by a meteor that exploded over a layer of permafrost. The intense heat from the explosion would have melted the permafrost, causing it to collapse and form a giant crater. However, this theory did not explain why the trees had been flattened. Today, scientists are still struggling to come up with a viable theory. There are two prevailing ideas. One is that the explosion was caused by a meteor that exploded just above the surface of the Earth. The other is that it was caused by a nuclear weapon. However, there is no evidence to support either theory. What do you think really happened at Tunguska? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more explosive historical tales.